How's it going, everybody? Welcome to Last Man Standing. We are live here on Tuesday night. Excited to talk to you about Week 7 action in the NFL, Circa Survivor, NFL Survivor Pools in general. My name is Tony Farmer. He is Ryan Hogue, the last man standing in the 2003 NFL Draft, drafted by the Raiders. We're going to preview every single game in the Week 7 slate from a Survivor Pool perspective. Talk a little bit about these trades that happened today. It was a big day in the NFL for a Tuesday. And we've also got a special guest who's going to be joining us later. As usual, Ryan never tells me who the special guests are, so I don't know who it is who will be joining us. It could be anybody. We've had some really good guests so far, though, so I'm excited to see who is on tap. Ryan, how are you doing over there, buddy?
I'm doing quite well. Coming to you from Maryland tonight. I'm kind of all over the place. I've done a show with you guys in Nevada, California, Minnesota, and the Arctic Circle, and now Maryland.
Hey, I got to follow up on the Arctic Circle because one of our shows, you told us about not seeing the Northern Lights, and then we were all like, hey, what's going to happen the next day? You were going to see them. We set some odds about whether you were going to see the Northern Lights the next day or not. How did day 2 go?
Well, let me just tell you, I don't recommend flying all the way to Rovaniemi, Finland, because what you see, like when you see awesome Instagram photos or whatever, that's what a camera can capture, right? With the red light imaging and all the things. To the naked eye, it looks like nothing. It looks like I'm in the country and I'm looking into the city, and it's like a cityscape on the clouds. It really did nothing for me. I felt like it was somewhat of a waste of time and waste of money. But I did get to see where all the mail that gets sent to Santa Claus, his home. I went there and saw his mailbox and some reindeer. So at least, check that off the bucket list, I guess.
Well, it was funny. I knew that you had this semi-failure of seeing the Northern Lights. And then I'm like, on my social media, on Facebook, I see all these people in Connecticut, Minnesota, where you lived, like are seeing the Northern Lights. And I'm like, poor Ryan went all the way there, didn't see the Northern Lights. And in his home state of Minnesota, people are able to easily see them without even trying. How about that?
Yeah, that's kick straight to the groin. That's what that is. So at least, I don't know. But you can see it in the U.S. as well as you can in Finland, apparently. And now I know.
Now you know. Absolutely. And before we bring in our guest, Ryan, I want to ask you, what was your biggest takeaway or surprise or just anything that stood out from the Week 6 slate?
Yeah, Week 6 slate, some of the teams that I felt like had to win didn't win. Like the New York Jets last night, I was really surprised that they kind of choked. I really was curious as to how the Raiders would respond. They were kind of in a must-win, but ironically, I think the Steelers were in a must-win as well after dropping 2 straight. And the Steelers figured it out. It seems like good teams figure it out and bad teams just figure out ways to lose. And that's been kind of consistent throughout the year. It's, you could say that probably any year, but this year in particular, teams like the Jets, like the Raiders, seem to find different ways to lose. And they're doing it consistently. And whereas the good teams, the Chiefs of the world, right, aren't playing necessarily great football, but they find ways to win. They have that championship medal, that expectation, right? Mike Tomlin used to always say the standard is the standard. And that means something to those players that are around that winning culture. And you can tell the teams that are around that and the teams that haven't been around it.
Yeah, such a good point. For me, one of the games that stood out was that Bengals-Giants game. I think I gained respect for the Giants, even though they lost that game. The Bengals offense came in red hot, and the Giants were able to, until late in the game, really keep that offense in check. And so that was pretty impressive for me, even though they lost that game. And the Bengals had kind of a Jekyll and Hyde situation where they came in with that hot offense. Their offense didn't look good, but you're like, hey, at least their defense is playing good now. Yeah. And that was their Achilles heel up until that point. So I thought that was one of the more interesting games, kind of stuck out to me.
I think Tampa Bay, New Orleans was an interesting game. You kind of expected Tampa Bay to get it done, but you thought it would be probably a pretty close game, being a division rival. And, New Orleans defense always shows up. And, Spencer Rattler he played the position well. He played it well enough for them to win. But, despite 3 interceptions for Baker Mayfield, they put up a 50-piece on him. And, that's just a testament to when the Bucks can both run and pass, they're a really dangerous team. And they have weapons all over the place. And their offensive line is coming together and has a lot of talent. And they have depth at the receiver room, depth in the running back room, and having Winfield come back was big. He scooped and scored touchdowns. So that was a surprise that it was so one-sided in the second half.
Yeah, they're getting healthy here, and I see our guest is back in the waiting room. I think maybe a little bit of a connection issue, so I'll give him a second. While we're waiting, I'm going to go ahead and pull this up. These are the games that we're going to be talking about this week. The percentage there is the implied win probability. We take the point spread for that game, and then we convert it into a percentage of how likely they are. So that's not Ryan and I's opinion. That's based off of the point spread. You can see the Bills are there at the top. Most likely team to win this week. Commanders at the top as well. And then you can work your way down. So allegedly the most likely teams to win are toward the top of that list. And this comes to us courtesy of our friends over at Survivor Atlas. Make sure you give them a follow on X, Twitter, and go to survivoratlas.com. All right, without further ado, Ryan, I'm going to go ahead and bring in our guest and let you introduce our guest here.
Yeah, can you see him? Because it's loading on my end, and I don't know.
Yep. Oh, yeah, I see him.
Oh, okay. There is I was blessed in the NFL to play for 5 different NFL teams. My career spanned about 9 years of whether it was in the NFL, the UFL, CFL, NFL Europe. And I played for some amazing coaches from Joe Gibbs to Danny Smith, who we've talked about as a special teams coach. But one coach in particular in my career absolutely stood out, and that's this gentleman, Randy Hansen. Hey, Coach, I haven't seen him in years. And when it comes to just sports mind and coaching mindset, and one of the most impressive just pedigrees as when it comes to looking at a defense, looking at an offense and breaking things down, and also one of the hardest workers I ever was around. Randy Hansen, I was with him in Minnesota in 2004 and 2005, and he actually brought me out in 2008, I believe, when he was with the Raiders. But Randy Hansen coached for the Vikings, coached for the Rams, and coached for the Raiders in different capacities. We might lose him. He is calling in from the Philippines, Cebu City, Philippines, all the way. So he's going to have some connection issues, but he's going to join us for the entirety of this show while we talk sports. Coach, thanks for joining us. How you doing?
I'm doing good, man. How you doing, Ryan?
Great to see you. Great to see you. We got you.
Yep. We hear you loud and clear, brother.
Appreciate that.
So glad to have you here. Thanks for taking
the
time today, Randy.
Tony?
Yes, sir. That's me, man. Thanks so much for taking the time today, brother. Oh, man, we're excited to talk NFL football here with you.
Appreciate it.
Absolutely, brother.
I don't know.
All right,
I'm a little behind the times these days, but I think I can do all right.
All right, I bet you can, man. No worries. First game on our slate, we've got Broncos and Saints. We got a matchup of 2 rookie quarterbacks here. It looks like Chris Olave is going to be out for the Saints because he had a concussion. It's tough to, almost impossible to pass concussion protocol on a short week like this, Sunday to Thursday. And Pat Surtain for the Broncos also had a concussion, so it looks like he's going to be out as well. We'll go ahead and start with you, Ryan. Your thoughts on this Thursday game. 85% of people in Circa Survivor have Denver left. Would you take Denver and trust them against the Saints?
Absolutely not. Although, New Orleans is an interesting case because they went from the penthouse to the outhouse really quick, right? After week 2, everybody was singing their praises. But at the end of the day, if you look at the teams they beat, Carolina, they blew out. Carolina might be the worst team in the league, right? And then Dallas, I think, is the worst team in the NFC East. And, since then, injuries have caught up to them. I think 8 of their 11 starters on offense are out right now. It's something, or at least have been out at some point. It's some ridiculous stat.
Yeah.
While they normally are pretty stout in defense, they're just so decimated, and that catches up to you. And as Randy can attest, right? I mean, it's a long season, and once you have to start digging deep into that second and third string at positions, you're in trouble, especially on a short week. I think that Denver is absolutely a viable option here. But again, I stay away from Thursday night games in terms of betting because crazy things happen. Plus, I look at Denver's offense, and until Bo Nix can prove it, I just don't buy it. Plus, their best player is out with Patrick Surtain. So I stay away from this game. I think it's a coin flip game. And how about you, Randy? What do you think?
I totally agree. Who's starting at quarterback for New Orleans?
Spencer Rattler, second start ever. Yeah, Spencer Rattler, second start ever.
Okay, I still like the Saints in this game, probably because they're just at home. They're the home team. But it's a toss-up. I don't like a rookie quarterback going into a dome stadium where dome stadiums are way for that rookie quarterback. Now Peyton is going back to New Orleans, so he wants to win bad at New Orleans, Sean. So, but I'm still taking the Saints in this one.
Nice, very good. All right, let's move on, guys. We got a London game. Patriots, Jaguars. One thing I want to mention real quick in this game is that there's been some turf issues at this stadium in London. So they're bringing in a new turf for this game. And there also may be some rain factored in as well. So for me, that makes this game scary from a survivor pool perspective and trusting my entire survivor pool life in a game where there could be players slipping and falling unexpectedly and stuff like that. So 86% of people have the Jaguars left and could use them against the Patriots. A lot of people think the Patriots might be the worst team in the league. So there will be some temptation to use the Jaguars. But my question is, what's the mood like right now in that Jaguars locker room? Their head coach is rumored to be the next coach fired potentially. And I mean, you can make the case that even if the Jaguars were to win this game, he still gets fired when they get back from London. And so I wonder, is this locker room going to rally around their coach, or is this sort of a lame duck situation and these players are going to be really unmotivated second week in a row here in an international game in London? Let's go ahead and start with you here, Ryan. Any thoughts on this Jaguars Patriots game?
Well, before I go into that, I'm curious if Randy, if you ever participated in an international game, number one, and then secondly, I know you've been around franchises that have had coaching changes in the middle of the year or coaches on a hot seat. And from a coaching perspective, how does that change your day-to-day, your week-to-week? Do you feel that internally, like, hey, our head coach might get fired and therefore we gotta work that much harder? Or is it just business as usual? We're not going to worry about the outside noise.
It's pretty much business as usual. You can't worry about that. You just get ready for the next opponent, just like any other opponent. It's in the back of your mind. We had a situation, in Minnesota. We had that Love Boat situation, and it was rumored that if we didn't beat Detroit, Coach Tice was going to get fired. We ended up going on a roll after that. We were 2-4. We ended up just missing the playoffs, and we were probably the hottest team in the NFL. Had we made the playoffs, we might have went to the Super Bowl. We were that good that year. Our only loss was to our only two losses after that were to at the Ravens and to the Steelers, who I think won the Super Bowl that year. So the Ravens could so the Jaguars can come back. All it takes in the NFL is one win to turn things around. Just takes one win, and the Jaguars they still have a good coach. Side note, me and Peterson played high school football against each other.
No
the head
kidding.
coach of the Jaguars. How about? Yeah, we played. He played for Ferndale High School. I played for Burlington Edison High School, and we were ranked number 1 in the state. They were ranked number 2 in the state, and they played us at our stadium. And it was the state game of the week. It was on television and everything. And the final score was 7-0. They won the game because they returned the opening kickoff for a touchdown.
Ooh.
Me and both got skunked. But I like Peterson. He's a good coach. I think the Jaguars are just one win away from turning it around. I think they're going to win this week, and I would seriously consider taking them. I think New England.
So when I watch Jacksonville, I don't see a team that's given up. Whereas Cleveland, I think that's a different conversation. Jaguars, I know that we have a comment here by Bob that says they look lost, and they seem like similar to the Raiders, where they're just finding ways to lose, right? But I see that they definitely they have talent. Brian Thomas Jr., that guy is a stud rookie receiver. Evan Ingram, you saw his impact when he came back this week for the first time, 10 catches over 100 yards. They have, Tank Bigsby, and they have Travis Etienne Jr. Like, they have multiple guys at positions. Obviously, offensive line, they struggle a little bit, but defensive line, they've got some guys. And then they're getting a little healthier in the back end as well. Turnovers are going to be key. So, Tony, I love that you mentioned that the weather is going to be a factor here. Similar to Thursday night games, though, London games are dangerous just because this is unprecedented. You've never had a team play back-to-back weeks there. You don't know how are they going to be just that much more acclimated from a time zone perspective compared to New England coming in. And then, some people are gushing over Drake May's performance. I actually thought he was pretty bad last week. I was not impressed. He made a couple good splash throws, but guess what? Anthony Richardson does that as well. Bo Nix does that as well. I'm not impressed with those guys either. I think from a holistic standpoint, there's a reason that he wasn't starting, and I think it's going to show up. I like the Jags just like Randy does as well this week, but I don't know if I like them enough to put my $100,000 Circa Survivor entry on it.
Ryan, I trust your evaluation there of May. Let me say this about Rattler and Drake May, because they're both going to be making their second ever start. As someone who lost his final Circa Survivor entry last year in week 13, going against Jake Browning in his second ever NFL start, because I was convinced Jake Browning was absolutely terrible after his first start. Be careful out there. Be careful going against the quarterback in his second start based off of what you think in his first start. Moving on here, guys. We'll start with you, Randy, on this one. This one might be the most exciting game of the week. Betting and survivor pools aside, just from an entertainment standpoint, Lions at undefeated Vikings. Do you have any good feelings in this one, Randy?
Well, this is the tough one because I coach with the Vikings and I love the Vikings. But I know that they are famous for blowing games like this at home. Even we did back when we were there. we lost a couple like this. But the Lions are without their best pass rusher. And that is a big deal. If you can't rush the passer. So I think, God, I hate doing this, but I think it's going to be high. God, I'm going to take Minnesota, but I probably like the Lions. I got to take Minnesota at home.
Tony, go ahead.
I think this is going to be a fun game to watch. High scoring. What the Vikings do best is they confuse you with that Brian Flores blitz. The Lions have a really good offensive line that I think can neutralize that blitz. But let me say this. If there's any quarterback in the NFL who's sensitive to pressure, and what I mean by that is when you can get pressure on him, he looks like a totally different guy. It's Jared Goff. And so to me, this game is going to come down to whether or not Goff is feeling the heat or not, whether or not that really good offensive line can stand up to that blitz. Now, from a survivor pool perspective, the Lions play on Thanksgiving, so I can't go with them. And they're an underdog in this game, so you don't want to take an underdog this early. And I just don't trust the Vikings in this spot. They play the Titans later in the season. They play the Jaguars later in the season. They play the Cardinals later in the season. So I want nothing to do with this game from a survivor perspective. I can't wait to watch it, though.
Yeah, going to be a fun game. I think it will be a shootout. Minnesota coming off a bye, and they had some guys banged up, so they'll be getting some guys back. Dalton Reisner is they had one weakness, kind of the right guard. And so if Reisner can come back and play, that's a big deal to shore up that line. I think the Lions are going to try to establish that line of scrimmage and run the football against Minnesota. I don't think they want to get into a track meet against them. I think if the Lions can run the football, they're going to have success and they'll win. But again, I mean, Minnesota's kind of on a Cinderella run. Randy knows this. We've been there before, though. 98 with Minnesota, 15-1, and so on. And so we'll see what happens. Yeah, usually the shoe falls at some point for Minnesota, but from a survivor standpoint, I'm staying away from this game.
Randy, I'm going to put you on the spot at the end of the show. I'll give you a couple minutes to. Oh, you cut out on me. Say that again, Randy.
I said Minnesota's famous about this time of the year. We were 6-0 my first year there. We were 5-1 my next year there. It's about this time of the year where everybody's excited, and then the Minnesota Vikings are ready to let you down. That's what I think. But I'm still taking.
Randy, speaking of the Vikings, before we let you go at the end of this show, I want to give you some time to think about it. I'm going to ask you for a story about Ryan. Give us some insight about him as a player. But next up, we've got, I can't wait for that. We got the Titans and the Bills up. I think this is going to be a very popular Circa Survivor selection. 82% of people have the Bills left. I'll say this, though. From a strategic standpoint, Ryan, I know you don't like planning this far ahead in Circa Survivor. The fact that they play the Patriots in week 16 and 18, that would give you so much flexibility if you happen to be alive at that point. So if you use them now, you can't have them for the end of the season. I would certainly keep that in mind. But this is probably going to be the first or second most popular selection in Circa Survivor. Bills on a short week here, coming off of that Monday night win against the Jets. Randy, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on this Bills team against the Titans?
Well, I like the Bills, obviously, but this is one of those games where you got to watch out because they're coming off a Monday night game, and they got one less day. But the Vikings are. I mean, the Bills are the better team. I mean, flat out the better team. So you got to take the Bills.
They add Amari Cooper too today. I'm not sure if you guys both saw that news, but that was huge news.
They needed a receiver. That's what they needed. So watch out.
Yeah.
So I definitely, but God, I don't know if I'll be honest with you. This could be an upset. So be careful. Just because they picked up Amari Cooper, he's got to learn the system. They're all excited about that. They're focused on Amari Cooper right now, and they're excited about that. They might not be doing everything they should be doing, game plan and that type of stuff. So just watch out for that game.
This is coming from a former coach. That's good insight there. Ryan, what do you think?
So, Tennessee matches up with some teams really, really well. They've matched up with the Jets, for example, really well because they have a stout front seven and they have a lockdown corner in Snead. And when you have a lockdown corner and you can just say, you know what, you take the best player out of the game, which they've done a lot this year, it really makes a difference and it allows your defense to really thrive. That's why they have the number one, I think, at least in terms of yards given up a game in the NFL. The thing about Buffalo is they've kind of taken Casey's blueprint of, you know what, we're just going to put guys around. And you can even go back to Tom Brady and the Patriots of, before he had Moss, before he had Gronk, like he just had guys and they had a system that worked. And if the system didn't work, they had a really good quarterback to get them out of bad plays, right? And that's what I see them doing right now with Josh Allen. And they don't have a ton of talent around him. Obviously, they have some running backs and a few tight ends that can do some things. But as far as like receiver room, and this week, I don't think Amari on a short week is going to come in and make an impact, right? They space you out really well. And if Josh doesn't like what he sees, he goes and makes a play himself. And that's really hard to defend. And it's really hard. You saw at the end of the game, right? They needed a third down stop and Josh rolled out, they fake handoff. He rolled out the opposite way and rushed for a first down to win the game. Like that's something you can, Randy can attest. Like you can coach them up and be in the right gaps and this and that. But sometimes if you just get out athleted or just if they have a guy that's just better than you, like it doesn't matter what you do. And so what was that, Randy?
He's the best quarterback in the NFL. Josh Allen.
Yeah, right. He's playing the best by far right now. Yeah. And so I think, as long as Tennessee is starting Will Levis, I can't see them having an upset here. Although, I'm not a huge Buffalo backer. I don't know that they're going to go that far. Although, Josh Allen is playing at an MVP level. Will Levis is still the quarterback and it's such a quarterback league. Josh Allen's going to triumph over Will Levis every time.
So
bet the under. Bet the under in that game.
Under in that one?
It's going. Bet the under.
Nice. All right. I like that, Randy. If you're just joining us, we've got former NFL player Ryan Hogue, former NFL coach Randy Hansen. I've got a question for you guys. 2 big wide receiver trades today. We talked about one of them. The other one is Devontae Adams getting traded to the Jets. What is your best guess? And I know it's just a guess, of course. The percentage of snaps that these guys can play? Is this just going to be a situation where it's like, hey, just go run a fade in the red zone? You don't need to know the playbook to do that, right? Like, is this just going to be a situation where we're seeing them in red zone packages, 50% of snaps, 70% of snaps, 20? How much do you think these two guys are going to play their first weeks with their new teams? We'll start with you, Ryan.
So I think what the teams will do is they'll have packages, right? It'll be 11 personnel Devontae or 21 personnel Amari, right? And all that is telling you is how many receivers, how many running backs, but instead of our normal X, Z, and Zebra or X, Z, and H, we're going to add in our new player. And so, if they only have a specific number of plays they have to focus on, right? Because you go into a week and you have, 300 or more plays you have to memorize. And for, if you're coming off into a new system, and obviously Devontae's familiar with Hackett and Aaron Rodgers, and, I think he's staying with Aaron Rodgers, so that'll expedite things. But for Amari Cooper coming into a completely new system, right, they're only going to have maybe some third down packages for him and things like that. Whereas Devontae, depending on his hamstring, assuming he's suddenly okay, which it looks like he is, I think you might see him play 40% of the snaps, whereas Amari Cooper 20%.
I'm not sure Davante Adams ever had a hamstring injury.
Yeah, touche.
Yeah, that's a good call. Ryan and I were talking about that too. That may have just been a little ploy, a little explanation for why he's not on the field there.
Exactly. He's going to play. He'll be the guy most ready between the two. But Ryan's exactly right. They'll have a package for those guys. They'll have 15 plays that they got to memorize. They'll have maybe 3 or 4 plays out of 11 personnel, maybe a couple plays out of 21. But they'll play. They'll get a lot of snaps. I'm guessing 20 to 30 about 20, half the snaps, I bet.
About 50%.
Sometimes they're just out there to be a decoy. If you want to run the ball, if you want to get a 7-man box, you put Davante Adams out there, and hopefully you're trying to get cover 2, so you get a good box count to be able to run the ball. We used to do that with Randy Moss all the time. We'd have Randy out there. We knew we were going to get cover 2, and we led the NFL in rushing because of Randy one year. So I think they'll be used as decoys, and they'll also have packs.
Oh, that's really good stuff. You always hear people talk about how wide receivers can help in the running game, and usually it's from the perspective of, the safeties can't cheat in the box because they got to, stay back on their heels. But that's really good insight from a former coach there about how a dominant wide receiver can help their team in the running game. That's really, really good stuff. Moving on here, we've got Colts, Dolphins. You can see here the Colts have about a 60% win probability in this game. A lot to talk about in this game. It looks like Jonathan Taylor might come back for the Colts. They just got their 2 wide receivers back last week, Downs and Pittman. So it looked like this Colts team is going to be healthy. Anthony Richardson will be back as well. And it looks like Randy froze there. We'll get him back on here in a second. Colts are getting healthy. Dolphins are off a bye, though, Ryan. I don't like risking my Circa Survivor entry against a team with more rest off of a bye that is also very desperate. That scares me. So for that reason alone, I don't like the Colts in this situation. I think there's going to be a few people trying to get cute with the Colts, though, because the Dolphins have looked so bad the last couple of weeks.
And I know that we had a person write in asking if we can walk them off the ledge, wanting to pick Miami in this game. If I had to pick, I would absolutely pick Miami. I think that, people don't recognize Miami's in second place in the AFC East. They're still in it. And Buffalo is not going to win. I don't think Buffalo is going to win that division. I do not think. I think Tua's 1 week away, and I think they'll be a relevant team once again. Once Tua's back, they're coming off a week bye, so they have some opportunity to work with Huntley. And I think Mike McDaniel is similar to Randy Hansen as far as like an offensive genius mastermind. And I feel like coming off a bye, plus Anthony Richardson, I'm fading him like I am Will Levis, like I am Bo Nix. As long as they switch back to him instead of Flacco, I think they're a much better team than Flacco. I think they're not as good with Anthony Richardson. I like Miami here, Ryan. So stay with those Dolphins, believe it, and I like them to win because they're second place and they got to keep up with the Bills.
Ooh, that's some guts there. That's some guts to take them.
I like the Colts. The Colts, I like the Colts in this game. The Dolphins, I just like the Colts.
Does the extra week of rest for the Dolphins to kind of regroup after, Tua goes down, you bring in this new quarterback, but he doesn't know the playbook. He's only been with the team a couple weeks. Does that extra week of rest that the Dolphins will have give you a little bit of pause on the Colts, or despite that, you're still feeling good about the Colts?
Oh shit, my internet.
We might have lost him again. Let's go to the next game.
All right. Next, sorry, we got a little connection issues here. Next game up, we've got Seahawks and Falcons. Falcons safety Justin Simmons suffered a hamstring injury and didn't return against the Panthers. I'll tell you what, guys, the Falcons don't have much of a pass rush at all. And that scares me against this Seattle team. Say what you want about Geno Smith. He can air it out. Give that guy some time. He can air it out. And Seattle's, one of their weaknesses is their offensive line isn't great. So the fact that he's going to finally get some time to throw, I think, because Atlanta doesn't have a big pass rush, that's good news. So no pass rush for Atlanta. Now on the back end, Simmons is hurt. We're not sure if he's going to play in this game. I think Seattle is live for an upset in this game. They've got extra rest because they're coming off the Thursday game. This is like a buy low opportunity on the Seahawks because everybody saw them struggle against the 49ers. Oh, Seahawks suck, Seahawks suck. Be careful. Be careful taking Atlanta in this one. Randy, your thoughts on this Seattle-Atlanta game?
I agree with you 100%, but I was looking at this game. I like Seattle all the way. Now, the defensive coordinator for the Falcons is Jimmy Lake. Now, Jimmy Lake played for me at Eastern Washington University back in the 90s. And when I left to go to Portland State, Jimmy replaced me at Eastern Washington. So me and Jimmy go way back a long ways, and Jimmy's creative, and he come up with some ways to get pressure on the quarterback. So, but I still like Seattle.
Ryan, what do you think, man?
I'm in. How about this? We're all in unison on a pick. I think Seattle coming off more rest. They're desperate. They're coming off 2 losses. Atlanta plays to the competition, right? So if they play a 5-0 team, they're going to play really, really well. If they play an 0-5 team, they're going to play poorly. It's going to be a close game, but I think you made a great point in saying that if Seattle has time to throw it, which they will against Atlanta's pass rush, who had 0 pressures in the first half against Tampa Bay, and that's when Baker Mayfield threw for 3 touchdowns in that first half. I think Seattle has as many weapons or more than Tampa Bay on that receiving core, and that they're going to have a field day. Look for Seattle to put up 35 points or more.
Ooh, Ryan likes a high-scoring one there. I like it. Next game up, we got Texans. Packers, Texans. Just like the Vikings and Lions game I said this about, this is going to be a highly entertaining game. I want nothing to do with this from a Survivor Pool perspective because the Packers are a Thanksgiving team. The Texans are a Christmas team. We want to save those teams. So again, really fun game to watch, but I have 0 interest in this from a Survivor perspective. Ryan, your thoughts?
Yeah, bet the over. That's what I have on my list. I think Green Bay is a boom or bust team. I think Houston, when they've played good teams, they've kind of shown their warts a little bit. And then when they play bad teams, they've just out-athleted them. I think this is going to be a really fun game, really high-scoring game, but I don't think that I would do anything as far as betting on it. I have no idea what to think of Green Bay as a whole. I think I know what Houston is. They've kind of underachieved they have a solid record, but I feel like they've underachieved this year. Green Bay has to win because they have to keep up. Everybody, they're last place in their division right now with a winning record. So I'm curious how this game will play out. I think if I had to bet, I'd bet Packers to win.
Yeah, a couple injury notes here for the Texans. Laramie Tunsil, their tackle, didn't return last week against the Patriots. And then Azeez Al-Shaair, a guy I know really well because former 49er linebacker. He's an important part of that defense, and he was ruled out last week as well. So keep an eye on the injury reports for those 2 guys. But again, I think it's not a good idea to trust either of these 2 teams in Survivor. Ryan, I'm going to take a moment here to talk about the Survivor Sweat Marketplace. For those of you who don't know, you can go to survivorsweat.com. And if you're not in Circa Survivor right now, you can actually join in and buy a percentage of someone's entry. Or if you're one of the lucky 216 people left in Circa Survivor, quest for $14.266 million. You can sell a percentage of your entry. And Ryan, check this out. The guy with all 6, the only guy with 6 entries left, is selling 1% of all 6 entries for $4,000. That is intriguing to me, because that guy's if this is a poker tournament, this guy's got the most chips at the table, and he's offering you 1% of 6 different entries, and he could theoretically get 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 entries across the finish line. So that's a pretty cool deal there. Go ahead,
My
Ryan.
question, can you buy a single entry, or is it a package deal? You get all 6, you get a percentage of all the entries.
For that listing, he's giving you 1% of all 6. So you're getting the package there, which is pretty fascinating. I'm going to go ahead and go through these here. I'm going to bring Randy back. Randy, we're taking an opportunity to talk about one of our sponsors real quick. It'll take another couple minutes, but go ahead and look at these listings. We got 7% for $5,500, 90% for $85,000. Again, go to survivorsweat.com. 1% for $800. That's the cheapie in Survivor Sweat right now. Your chance to get 1% of $14 million by buying that entry there. And again, you can go to Survivor Sweat and you can click on these entries and see which teams have been used thus far on these entries. 55% for $55,000, 10% for $7,500, $1,800 for 2%, another 1% for $900, and then the last 2 here, $4,200 for 5% and 20% for 15 G's. So again, go over to survivorsweat.com. They got the Survivor Revival competition going on right now. We love those guys over there. Next up, Ryan, we've got the Bengals and Browns. Yeah,
Cincinnati, I mean, buyers beware, right? I mean, Cincinnati has let, 3,200 people down already. It's a division battle, so it's going to be hard fought. While it seems like Cleveland has quit on their quarterback and their team potentially, let's not forget Stefanski was a two-time coach of the year. I wish Randy was in here, because I think, if I'm not mistaken, they were quality control coaches together with the Vikings, or Stefanski came when Randy left in 2006. That would be a question for Randy. But Cincinnati can pass the ball all the day, and the Browns really aren't great in terms of pass coverage. They're good at, their defensive line gets after you. But they do give up some splash plays. As long as Deshaun Watson is quarterbacking, though, I am going to fade the Browns all day, every day. So I think this is a very viable Cincinnati pick.
Yeah, I think it is too. We've seen that point spread. It went from Bengals favored by 3 to 5.5. And then after the trade with Cooper leaving, it goes up from 5.5 to 6.5. You see a 68% win probability there. Keep this in mind, though, with the Bengals. Week 9, they're at home against the Raiders. I think that's kind of a nice spot to potentially use them there. And then they also play the Browns again in Cincinnati week 17. So would you rather use them now on the road in Cleveland, or save them for week 17 in Cincinnati at home? It's something to kind of, something to kind of think about. But as I said earlier in the show, the Bengals defense is what was letting them down earlier, and it actually ended up looking really good against the Giants, and their offense struggled after putting up consecutive 30-point games. So Randy is rejoining us here at perfect timing, because we're talking about the Bengals and Browns. Randy, do you have a connection with Kevin Stefanski? Is Ryan remembering that right?
My only connection with Kevin would be through John DeFilippo. We call him Flip. God, he used to coordinator with the Raiders.
John DeFilippo or whatever.
That's a tough one.
But that's my only connection. I never worked with Kevin.
Didn't Kevin take
Flip? What is call him Flip? But
didn't Kevin Stefanski take over for you when you left to follow Scott Linehan to the Rams? Didn't he take your position?
He didn't. He might have taken my. Now that you bring it up, he might have taken my position with the Vikings.
Yes, right. I think in 2006
you left. He might have taken my position with the Vikings. Yeah.
Gotcha. Randy, any thoughts here on this Bengals Browns game? Browns have looked really bad offensively.
Yep, so they're going to win because the Bengals are so bad on defense. I can't believe it. So I like the Browns. It's a rivalry game. The game's in Cleveland. The Bengals are terrible on defense. Absolutely god-awful. I like the Browns to beat them.
Yep. We've got 2 upset predictions here from Randy. This is good stuff. Beware of the Titans and beware of the Browns this weekend. I absolutely love it. Next game up, guys, Eagles, Giants. I got to get some injury news out of the way here. Andrew Thomas, unexpectedly today, told reporters he's dealing with he's going to a specialist for his foot. He might be out for the season. He's the Giants' best offensive lineman.
Wow.
If you look at Daniel Jones' numbers when Andrew Thomas is in the lineup and when he's not, it's night and day difference. Obviously, Malik Neighbors has missed the last 2 games because of concussion. It's a big deal if he's in or not, so keep an eye on the injury report there. Eagles lost the following 3 players last week, and we're not sure if they're going to play next week or not. Dallas Goedert at tight end, cornerback Darius Slay, and tackle Jordan Mailata. So that's a lot of injuries to keep an eye on if you dare bet Eagles at Giants here. You guys might disagree with me. I think there's at least a chance the Giants might be a better team than the Eagles right now. And I say that because the Eagles are 4-8 over their last 12 weeks. They didn't look good against a very bad Browns team. And this Giants team, they faced, as I said earlier, the Commanders and the Vikings the first 2 weeks of the season. And we were like, oh, Giants stink. Well, now that we know the Vikings and Commanders are good, the Giants might actually be decent. And they've looked okay their last 2 weeks without their best player, Malik Neighbors. So there's a chance that the Giants are underrated, the Eagles are overrated, and the Giants might be a better team than the Eagles. So I absolutely would not trust the Eagles here in this spot. What do you say, Ryan?
Tony, what's the percentage in this one?
Good call. I still have the old one up here. Let me see. We got some comments rolling in as well. 62% here for the Eagles.
Yeah, it's a game I would stay away from. It's a NFC East division battle, and I think whoever wins up front wins the game. So the fact that there's 2, tackles that are both left tackles are questionable for this game, I'm keeping a close eye on that, because if one of them's out, I'm fading that team for sure versus the other. Saquon Barkley, obviously when they're able to run the ball, that opens up things for A.J. Brown. They're a different team when they have A.J. Brown in the lineup, and he came back last week, had a big, ice the game in addition to catching a touchdown early. So, I'm looking at who wins up front wins this game.
Randy, what do you say here? This big NFC East battle, Eagles-Giants.
That Philippine connection, man. I don't know if he can hear us.
Randy, did you catch that there? Curious your thoughts on the Eagles-Giants NFC East battle.
All right, next game.
Yeah, there might be a little bit of a delay there. Rams.
I gotta go Eagles.
Oh, there we go.
Eagles.
What do you like about the Eagles here, Randy? It looks like we got a little bit of a delay, so we'll just give them a second to catch up.
Oh, can you guys hear me? Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you now. I think you're a little bit delayed, a little bit behind us, so we'll be patient and let you get caught up here. Let's get your thoughts on the Eagles-Giants. We'll take a couple seconds.
I like the Giants.
Dang, all right. Well, let's move on to the Raiders-Rams, and then we can circle back to the Eagles-Giants when we get Randy back. Ryan, I'll let you take this one away because the Raiders are the team that you know inside and out. You do the pregame shows for the Raiders out in Vegas. What do you think of the Rams' chances here against the Raiders?
Yeah, Rams coming off of a bye, which, again, that's a big deal, especially this year in the NFL. I feel like, I was talking about this on my game day show at the stadium, and the fact that we've turned preseason really into not utilizing any sort of physical contact. I think that's why you're looking at the first quarter of the season with so many guys getting hurt, because NFL is not a sport where you can just turn it on, right? You need that like muscle endurance, that pain tolerance to build up. And that's, you have to, that callus, that's what they were calling it on the show earlier. You got to have that pain callus kind of built in, and without it, right, you're just seeing these injury reports that are so long. And all that to say, the Rams are coming in. They have one win. They're desperate. They're coming off of a bye, so they got a little healthier. The Raiders just, shipped their best player away, but he hasn't played the last couple weeks. And here's what I'm thinking, that the Raiders, their scoring defense right now is like they're giving up 28 points a game or something. They're one of the bottom. I think they're maybe 29th or 28th in the NFL. And the quarterbacks they've faced: Bo Nix, Andy Dalton, right? I mean, we're not talking elite quarterbacks. Justin Fields, with the exception of Lamar Jackson, they really haven't, faced explosive offenses. And they get Matt Stafford, who's, as a pocket passer, one of the best in the NFL, top 3 for sure, as far as just a pocket passer. So I think the Rams are, poised to, give Sean McVay an extra week, similar to Randy Hansen, right? And Randy was so unique in the fact that if you gave him time, like, he was able to figure out and situationalize every single position to put you in a position to win that next week, right? I was like I said, I was around so many impressive coaches all my life. Randy was one of those where it would just be like, first of all, he lived at the office. It was unbelievable. 18 hours, 19 hours a day, slept there. But his mind was similar to McVay. It was similar to some of these guys where they're just like, these are offensive geniuses, defensive. Like, Randy wasn't a one of one. Sean McVay's one of one. You give him an extra week. I find the Rams to beat the Raiders here. I think the Raiders are kind of looking at next year, and it's a shame.
And Cooper Kupp may be back with that high ankle sprain. They said he had a positive workout on Monday. I think we'll know a lot more tomorrow and Thursday in terms of his practice participation, if he's going to be back or not. Of course, Puka Nacua is still out, but 100% of people in Circa Survivor still have the Rams available. So I think they're going to be very popular, and I understand why. I think the Rams are a really solid pick. Just keep in mind, they play the Patriots week 11. So if you burn them now, you can't use them week 11, and that's really a good time, middle of Circa Survivor season, where you'll be looking for good teams to use, and you might be upset that you use them early. They've also got the Cardinals in week 17, maybe even the Dolphins week 10, depending on if Tua's back or not. Randy, I'd love to get your thoughts here on the Rams' chances against the Raiders in this one. Rams coming off the bye week.
All right, I grew up with the Raiders as a kid. Now here's the deal with the Raiders. When you think the Raiders are going to win, they lose. And when you think they're going to lose, they win. All right. Now you think they got rid of Devontae Adams. There's nothing to play for. But here's the deal. They're going back to L.A. And they're going to have a lot of fans there that's going to jack them up and get them going in pregame warm-up. Trust me, that stadium's going to be 50% Raiders. Yeah. Maybe more. Never go against – just when you think the Raiders are going to lose, they're done, they're over. That's when they win. So I would be careful on this one. I actually think the Raiders are going to win. I think they're going to win that game. I think they're all going to come together. Okay, we got rid of Devontae. Devontae's gone. All right, let's pull it together. Go out. They go out that stadium. They got all those fans, Raider fans there. They're gonna win. I think the Raiders are going to win.
Woo! We could have 3 big upsets if you're right on this, Randy. Fascinating stuff. Next game, Ryan, correct me if I'm wrong. You're at this game. Commanders, Panthers. Jonathan Allen is hurt for the Commanders. He's out for the season. Huge blow for them. And then Darian Armstrong for the Commanders, another defensive lineman who's had a really good season for them so far, 4 sacks and 20 pressures. He's undergoing further tests. So that's 2 big blows here for the Commanders. 87% of people in Circa Survivor have the Commanders left. And oh, by the way, they play the Titans in week 13. You may want to save them for then. Ryan, we'll start with you. Your thoughts here on trusting the Commanders against Andy Dalton's Panthers.
Yeah, it's alumni weekend, and I used to play for Washington for 2 different years, and they're the ones that allocated me actually to NFL Europe. There's a fun fact, but they're retiring jersey number 28, Darrell Green, the fastest man in football of the 90s. So that'll be a special weekend. I just have a funny feeling about this game, kind of like Randy did with the Raiders-Rams game, though. I think the Carolina will keep it close. I think Washington has a lot of really great things going for them. Their pass defense is not one of them. Carolina, while they don't overpower you by any means with an offensive line, they have some weapons offensively, and then from a running back standpoint, with Chuba Hubbard and others, they can do some things. Andy Dalton's the consummate pro. I think that it's probably going to be an entertaining game, and I wouldn't be shocked if Carolina is winning at halftime or it's tied at halftime. I think the Commanders are the better team, so hopefully at home they'll figure it out. But I think Carolina's this isn't going to be a 21-point game like a lot of people are expecting. I think Carolina will keep it interesting because they're feisty.
Randy, your thoughts on this one?
The NFL, any given Sunday, anybody could win. But in this particular game, I really kind of like the Redskins, just because Carolina. How many games have they won? Who's the only team Carolina's beaten in the last 20 games? The Raiders, who everyone thought was going to beat them. The Raiders get crushed by. But I like it. Yeah, unbelievable. Yeah, Raiders just coming off a big win. Everything's going rah rah rah. We're gonna make the playoffs. Boom, get beat in the home opener. But anyway, I like the Redskins. I like this rookie quarterback. He's the real deal. He's gonna make plays. I think Ryan's right though. Every NFL game is close. There is the worst team. If the matchups are there, they can beat you. If they match up well with certain guys. It could be a blowout the other way. Carolina could end up winning in a blowout, but I doubt it. Not this week. They matched up well with the Raiders, but they don't match up well with the Redskins. The Redskins got a quarterback who can run, and he's going to make plays, and they're going to win the game.
Randy, we got a question here about quarterbacks for the Raiders. Ryan, I know you like Minshew over O'Connell. Randy, do you have a strong opinion there on Gardner Minshew versus O'Connell and who you think is sort of a better fit for that Raiders offense before we move on to the next game?
I think it depends. Here's why I like Gardner Minshew. I think the Raiders made a huge mistake when they benched Gardner Minshew against Carolina, I believe it was. Here's why. He's got 10 fourth quarter behind by 10-point comes back. He's got like 10 of or 8 or 10 of them. For whatever reason, Gardner Minshew is famous for fourth quarter big time comebacks when there's no chance to win at all. So I would have kept him in. But the Raiders, of course, they benched him. I like for Gardner Minshew is the better option for the Raiders right now.
Gotcha. Yeah, you guys both feel that way. It's tough to argue with that. 49ers, Chiefs, Super Bowl rematch. Guys, I would say one of the 5 best Super Bowls of all time last year. I'm biased because I was at that game. But what a game we have here. 49ers and Kyle Shanahan have revenge on their minds. But Andy Reid and Steve Spagnuolo have owned the 49ers the last couple years here. So it's tough to trust the 49ers. The Chiefs have survivor implications. I can't trust either of these teams for survivor pools. Keep an eye on Charvarius Ward, former Chief, current 49ers. He missed last week's game with a knee injury. We'll see if he's healthy enough for this one. We'll go ahead and start with you here, Ryan. Any strong opinions on the 49ers or Chiefs?
Well, I hope the Chiefs lose by 50, personally.
Right.
But that's just personal feeling. It's hard to bet against Andy Reid coming off a bye, man. That guy, similar to Bill Belichick, man, they don't lose coming off bye weeks. Extra rest, extra time to prep. Obviously, they're adjusting their offense a little bit without Rice, without Hollywood Brown. They're integrating Worthy really well, and they're starting to, find different ways to get Kelsey the ball. I think San Francisco absolutely needs this game a lot more. Right. But I just don't like it feels like it's a foregone conclusion that Kansas City is going to be at worst in the AFC Championship game. And it's just a matter of, do they want to try to run the table or do they want to, just kind of get to the playoffs healthy and like they were last year and go from there. They find different ways to win. That's what good teams do. And so I'm staying away from this game, but if I had to bet, I'd bet Kansas City.
Randy, what say you? 49ers Chiefs.
Okay, the 49ers, the Chiefs have owned the 49ers, right?
Yep.
And then you have the I'll guarantee 49ers have been working on the Chiefs for about 5 months. They're ready for this game. It's a revenge game, and in revenge in the games in San Francisco, I believe, correct?
Yep.
Well, then this is the time 49ers are going to get the win. The Chiefs just aren't the same Chiefs. They are on defense, but there's something missing on offense. They're just winning games by just a few. They're not blowing anybody out really. I mean,
good point. And Ryan, you mentioned that the Chiefs are off of a bye here and have extra rest. The 49ers are kind of on like a semi-bye because they had that Thursday game. So that helps out a little bit, but you're right. It's really tough to bet against Andy Reid with that extra rest here. Jets Steelers, while your connection's coming in good here, Randy, I'll let you take it away on this one. It sounds like Russell Wilson may start this game over Justin Fields, which I was kind of surprised to hear about. Of course, we talked about how the Jets are going to be adding Devontae Adams. Any strong opinions here on Jets at Steelers, Randy?
I like the Jets in this game. I think that the Jets are just one win, a big win like this away from getting that momentum and turning things around. Todd Downey's calling the plays now for the Jets, and I think he did a really good job when he was this past game on Monday night. I thought the offense looked better. The Jets have to win. The Jets have to win this game, and they got a quarterback that knows how to win when they have to win. And I like the Jets and Aaron Rodgers versus the Steelers. I think it would be a mistake for the Steelers to start Russell Wilson in this game if they do.
Good call. Ryan?
Yeah, so this is a tale of whose weakness is exploited more, right? Because I feel like the Jets are struggling defensively and Pittsburgh's struggling offensively. And so, it's a clash of two weaknesses, and I'm really interested to see which one of those does better. I normally agree with Randy. In this case, I disagree. I think the Steelers would be much better off. I mean, I covered that game last week watching them against the Raiders, and they legitimately don't have any confidence in anything other than a three-step drop for Fields. It's three-step drop. Look, if those guys are covered short, he's just going to try to go run and make a play. Like, they have no timing. They can't throw the ball down the field. I would love to see 3 out of 4 series with Wilson, 1 out of 4 series with the changeup and having him come in. Ooh. And, this isn't unprecedented, though, if they do switch it, because think about what Harbaugh did with Alex Smith back in the day. They had a playoff team, right? I think that, what were they, 8-3 or something? I don't remember the exact. You would know, Tony, more than I would. And then they put Kaepernick in, and that changed the whole complexity of the season. And even though Alex Smith was doing a great job, that took them to the Super Bowl, and it was a game changer. I feel like the Steelers are looking at, and Tomlin says it, we're not looking to be good. We're looking to be great. And right now, their offense is arguably good enough, right? I think with Russell Wilson, it could take them to actually having a competent passing game, because right now they don't have any fear in opponents when it comes to their offense. And then sprinkle in Justin Fields on third downs, or just give them a series every quarter. Hey, you got it. This is your series. Go with it. And I would love to see that, because now you're having to prepare for 2. It could also be mouth service, because you got guys like Randy Hansen that work around the clock. And if they know that there might be 2 different quarterbacks coming in that are completely different styles, you have to prep. And it's that much more work that you're spending with one coach or multiple coaches, and you're having to teach the defense and teach the defensive line or teach up, whatever it might be. You're spending days and hours of figuring out how to attack both of those systems or how to defend both of those systems. And that's a big deal. So, Mike Tomlin could just be lip service as well.
We got 2 games left, and then I want to ask Randy for a Ryan Hogue story. But let me make one point about this game to anybody who's considering the Jets here against the Steelers. You just saw on Monday night, the Jets kicker missed 2 field goals. He hit the post. They say Pittsburgh is one of the toughest places to kick in the NFL. This game, the Steelers were the favorite, and then after the Jets got Devontae, the Jets became the favorite. So Las Vegas is telling you this is going to be a close game. In a close game, do you trust the team with the struggling kicker in the tough stadium, or do you trust the team that has one of the most reliable kickers in the NFL in his home stadium? Remember that kicking angle. I warned you. Next game, Ravens, Bucks, Ravens with a 62% win probability here. A little bit of an injury note. Bucks safety Jamel Dean was ruled out against the Saints with a hamstring. You'll want to keep an eye on the injury report to see if he plays in this one. What a fun game this should be to watch with these two offenses that can be both very, very explosive. I can't wait to turn this game on. Don't have any strong feelings for Survivor Pool purposes. We'll start with you, Randy. Any feelings on the Ravens at Bucks?
Yeah, that's a tough game. I got to go with the Ravens in this one. My gut feeling tells me the Ravens are just going to win this game, but it's not going to be easy. But I like my gut feeling is the Ravens are going to win the game.
Got you, Ryan.
Yeah, Jamel Dean's the starting corner
Can you guys hear me?
for the Bucks, and that's a big deal if he's out. I'm betting the over for sure in this game. I think the team that's winning after the first quarter wins the game. It's imperative. If the Buccaneers want to have a chance in this game, they have to play from the lead because they need to be able to be run past both. If you're just one-dimensional against Baltimore's defense, they're too talented and too multi-dimensional in terms of unique looks that if Baker's just dropping back to pass every time because they're behind, they're going to really struggle. So I'm really interested to see which team is winning after the first quarter, I think wins the game. Baltimore, obviously, they're number one rushing team in the NFL, but Lamar's been asked to do a lot more this year as far as passing the game and just designed runs, which I'm shocked that they continue to do that considering what happened last year against Kansas City. He couldn't run the ball because he was so hurt, and that took away, right? But they're doing a lot of design runs despite having Derrick Henry. We'll see if it's sustainable. It's certainly working now, and they're one of the hottest teams in the NFL. Whichever team is winning after the first quarter will win this game, but not a survivor pick for me.
All right, our last game, the other Monday Night Football game, Chargers, Cardinals. Will Joey Bosa return for the Chargers against a not-so-good offensive line for the Cardinals? Arizona had several injuries last week, guys. Is Marvin Harrison going to play in this one? Is Sean Murphy-Bunting going to play in this one? Is their linebacker, Kazir White, going to play? Bilal Nichols on the defensive line. If you're going to be considering the Chargers here, you're going to want to know if those guys are in the lineup for the Cardinals. I'm in a Survivor Revival pool. I'm strongly considering the Chargers here in this spot. I know it's on the road. I know the Cardinals can be feisty, but that Cardinals defense isn't great, and it may be banged up. I like the Chargers in that power run game to just be able to do whatever they want in the run game and see a scenario where the Cardinals just cannot slow down that ground attack. Randy, your thoughts here on Chargers, Cardinals, Monday night?
Well, the Chargers, I looked somewhere, I saw they've given up the least amount of touchdowns in the NFL so far. The Chargers have. Chargers are going to win the game. I'm not even concerned. Even if those all played for the Cardinals, I don't care if the Cardinals were 100% healthy. The Chargers are going to win this game. They've got a better defense. The defense wins. So and plus I like the Chargers are just well coached. They're going to win the game.
Ryan?
Yeah, I'm looking at time of possession. Whoever wins that, I think wins this game. A lot of people, similar to what Randy said about the Raiders, is as soon as you start counting out a team, certain teams just show up. Cardinals, I feel like, are that team. When we wanted to fade them right before they played San Francisco, right? They go out and play the best game of the year and beat San Francisco. They should have beat Buffalo. So, this is like a lightning rod type team. Like when they're on, they're on. When they're off, they look like they did in the first half against Green Bay, where like, Kyler Murray seems like he's mad and not a leader and pissed at everybody and pouting. But when he's running around and able to run pass and make plays, like they're tough to defend. I think it will be a low scoring. Again, time of possession is going to be key in this one. I'm staying away from it. I wouldn't touch it as far as Survivor, just because the Cardinals are desperate. And if they want to stay in a really tough division, stay relevant in a really tough division, they have to win. Whereas the Chargers right now, I think, are, one of the top wild card teams. And, so they don't need it as much. I don't even know who I like in it. I just think it's a gross game. I'm staying away.
All right, if you're just joining us, we got former NFL player Ryan Hogue, former NFL coach Randy Hansen. Randy, I got to ask you for some sort of insight or story or anecdote about Ryan. I only know Ryan post-football career. So can you give me some juice, some gossip, funny story, anything?
Well, yeah, hopefully my internet doesn't go out because this is a good story. But Ryan probably saved my career. He doesn't even know this yet. I'm telling you for the first time, Ryan. We were playing in Seattle. It was a preseason game. And the day before the game, all the coaches, the owners, all the Vikings staff, not the players, just, coaches, trainers, owner of the team, Ziggy Wilf was on the bus. Well, anyway, to make a long story short, I was always working, so I was real tired. I had a few beers at this party we went to it. Mike Tice, Coach Tice had a house in Seattle. So we went to his house in Seattle and had, drinks and stuff. And I had just a little too much to drink. And on that bus ride back, I voiced my opinion about a few things that I probably should have. So
we've all been there.
The next day, I'm like, God, I'm going to get fired. Oh, geez, I'm in trouble. We need to win this preseason game because you know how Coach Tice was. If we lost any game, man, it was like death. And so anyway, we're losing the game, and I'm up in the box going, God, we got to score and win. We need to score and win here. And on I think it was the last play of the game or the second to last play of the game, we were down by a touchdown. We needed a touchdown to win, and Sean Hill throws into triple coverage, and Ryan Hogue catches a touchdown pass. Do you remember that, Ryan? I'm sure you do.
I
saved my career.
Well, you're giving me more credit. It was a 46-yard pass down to the 10. We needed a field goal to win it. It set up the field goal. The next play was a field goal, and we won it. And
we won. Well, whatever. I got CTE. I've had a few concussions, but I do remember he made the play that's in like triple coverage that I was like, oh, thank God, because I didn't want to go in that locker room after what I did the day before on that bus. I didn't want to go in that locker room because we won that game. And it was I didn't want to have to face anybody, but thank God he caught that ball. We kicked the field goal and won the game. And but there's a lot of Ryan Hogue stories. I mean, he was one of the hardest working players I've ever been around. I mean, he was great on special teams, and he was reliable. You could always count on him. And he was very well liked and respected by his teammates. They all loved him, and the coaches loved him. And I wish I would have got to be with him a lot longer. It's just in the NFL, things happen, and there's coaching changes, and people move on. But Ryan Hogue was the type of player you wanted on your team. You wanted Ryan Hogue on your team because he was always working hard, and like I said, his teammates and coaches loved him, and he always brought energy to practice. And so, but yeah, he was a great guy. He was a great teammate and a great guy to coach, and really smart. I mean, I could go on and on. I mean,
Randy, do you remember?
Every day in practice he did. Help me here.
What were you gonna say, Ryan?
What did Mike Tice? He got mad at me because of Friday practices, so he had a nickname for me. Do you remember what it was?
I can't remember, but he probably got mad at me that same day, so I was probably like all pissed off and like so he got mad at everybody on Friday.
Yeah,
What was the nickname?
It was Tempo Violator because I treated Friday practice like it was my last day of tryouts, and I would always burn the number one defense.
Tempo Violator. Nice.
I couldn't hear you. Oh, yeah. Violator. That's right. Violator. Because you're always making plays you shouldn't be making. Violator. That's right. I remember now.
Tempo Violator. Yep.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Hey, next time someone tells me preseason games don't matter, I'm going to tell them that story. We had a job maybe on the line. Ryan Hogue making a big play in the preseason.
Violator. That's right.
That's awesome. Good stuff. Man, I cannot say enough, Randy. Thank you so much for taking the time out. I mean, we've had you for over an hour. So generous with your time. Thank you for being patient with the.
Thank you very much. I hope.
Thank you, brother. And thanks for being patient with the connection issues and logging back on and stuff like that. We really appreciate you, man. You're welcome back on the show anytime. Such great insight. Love the anecdotes. Love the story. Thank you so much, Randy. Appreciate it, man.
Coach.
Yeah. Thanks, guys. Good to see you again, Ryan. Love you, buddy.
Yep. See you soon.
Take care.
Take care.
And thanks, everybody, for watching. We will be back on Saturday nights. 9. No, when do we do it, Ryan? 8:30?
You might be on your own for this one because I have Daryl Green's he's got a big dinner and gala, so I'm not sure I can make it.
Right, just go up to Daryl with your phone, just give him a little elbow and say, hey, can I have a couple minutes of your time? We got to get you on the Last Man Standing show. Come on, man.
Yeah,
I'm just messing with you. I might be solo on Saturday. Ryan, thanks so much for the time. Thanks for hooking up that awesome special guest. Good luck with all your bets this weekend. Oh, we got a comment. We got 2 comments. Hold on real quick. We got 2 comments. Tempo Violator should be Hogue's Circa name. I like that. That's such a good idea. That is such a good idea. Absolutely. I love it. Oh, and then this comment came in earlier and I missed it. Can't trust anything the Colts say about injuries. That's in reference to their wide receiver supposedly going on IR and then playing a couple days later. Yeah, good call. Be careful with Colts injury reports. All right, take care, everybody. We'll see you back here Saturday. Have a good one.